You know how to make money. You've read the books. You've watched the TikToks. You've crunched the numbers. And yet, you're still not rich. Why? Because getting rich isn't just a matter of spreadsheets and savings rates. It's about how you think, how you feel about money, and more importantly, how your psychology is either building your wealth or burning it to the ground. Most people believe that managing money is about knowing numbers, interest rates, and market trends. But the truth is, the biggest influence on your wealth isn't the market, it's your mind. And that's what we're going to explore today. Two people, same income, same background, same opportunities. Let's begin with something that might surprise you. One retires wealthy, the other bankrupt. Why? Not because one was lucky or smarter. It comes down to behavior. Consider Ronald Reed, a janitor who quietly amassed over $8 million. No flashy investments, no Silicon Valley startup, just slow, steady saving, living below his means, and letting compound interest do its thing. Compare that to someone like Richard Fuscone, a former Merrill Lynch executive who went bankrupt despite earning millions. That contrast shows us something vital. How you behave with money is more important than how much you make. Behavioral economists call it loss aversion. We feel the pain of losing money about twice as strongly as we feel the joy of gaining it. This fear drives us to make terrible financial decisions. We sell during market crashes. We hoard cash when we should invest. We chase get-rich-quick schemes instead of building sustainable wealth. Our brains weren't built for financial success. They were built for survival. And in the world of survival, emotion often overrides logic. Think about how stress affects your decisions. They were built for survival. In one Princeton study, people experiencing financial strain showed a drop in cognitive performance, like losing 13 IQ points. Think about how stress affects your decisions. That's the mental load of scarcity. It doesn't matter how smart you are. When money is tight, your brain goes into panic mode. And panic mode is the enemy of long-term thinking. You focus on the next bill, not your future. That leads to short-term thinking, quick fixes, and long-term pain. Even if you know what you should do, save, invest, budget, your brain is wired to prioritize the now. And that creates a massive psychological gap between knowing and doing. Now let's talk about spending. Most of us think we spend money rationally, but we don't. We spend emotionally and then justify logically. A new phone? You tell yourself it's for productivity. That luxury watch? It's an investment in your image. But deep down, these purchases are often driven by status, insecurity, or the need to feel good, right now. That's how marketers get us. They sell us a story, a feeling, not a product. And we buy into it again and again. And there's another layer, social proof. If everyone around you is spending on fancy dinners, designer clothes, and expensive vacations, you feel the pressure to do the same, even if you can't afford it. This is called social comparison theory. It's human nature to compare ourselves to others, but financially, it's dangerous. Because you're not just spending money, you're spending peace of mind. The irony? Most of the people we compare ourselves to are faking it. They're in debt, they're stressed, but the image looks good on Instagram, so we follow. We also have a tendency to believe that more money means more happiness. And to some extent, that's true. If you're struggling to pay bills or put food on the table, more money can absolutely improve your life. But past a certain point, around $75,000 per year, according to a study by Kahneman and Deaton, additional income doesn't bring more day-to-day happiness. You don't suddenly become more fulfilled at $100K or even $1 million. Because happiness isn't about having more, it's about wanting less. Take the example of Rajat Gupta. He had it all, a respected career, massive wealth, and global influence. But he risked it all for a bit more, engaging in insider trading and ultimately going to prison. Why? Because once we start chasing more, there's no finish line. Enough is never enough. And that's the trap. More becomes addictive. An addiction to wealth is one of the most socially accepted addictions out there. We rarely question it, but it quietly erodes everything that truly matters: our relationships, our health, our peace of mind. Another trap is impatience. Building wealth is a long game, but we're wired for short-term rewards. The famous Stanford marshmallow experiment showed that kids who could wait for a bigger reward tended to succeed more in life. It's the same with investing. The ones who get rich aren't the ones who jump on the next hot stock. It's the ones who stay consistent, avoid emotional reactions, and let time work in their favor. Warren Buffett earned 99% of his wealth after age 50. His secret wasn't just picking good stocks. It was patience. Compound interest is called the eighth wonder of the world for a reason. But it requires one thing most people don't want to give: time. And not just time, but emotional resilience. The ability to stay invested when the market drops. The strength to resist the urge to pull out during recessions. The discipline to live below your means when your income rises. That's what builds real wealth. Yet we live in a culture that rewards speed, not patience. We want it fast, overnight, viral. But wealth doesn't grow like that. Wealth grows like a tree, slow, steady, and strong. If you're looking for fireworks, you're not building wealth. You're gambling. Then there's envy, one of the most destructive emotions in personal finance. Social media bombards us with highlight reels, luxury cars, exotic vacations, dream homes. We start comparing, and comparison leads to poor decisions. We try to keep up, to prove something. Neuroscience has shown that envy activates the same brain regions as physical pain. That feeling when someone posts their new Tesla while you're still driving your old Honda. It literally hurts, but chasing someone else's lifestyle is a fast track to financial ruin, because we don't see the full picture. The debt, the stress, the anxiety behind the scenes, even in movements that seem admirable like FIRE, financial independence, retire early, there's danger. People sell everything, quit jobs, downsize, and then realize they're unhappy. Why? Because they were chasing a formula, not fulfillment. Real wealth isn't retiring by 30. It's having options, having peace, being able to say no. Real wealth means you get to choose how you spend your day, who you work with, what you work on. That kind of freedom is priceless. So let's redefine wealth. It's not a number in your bank account. It's how long you can maintain your lifestyle without needing to work. It's freedom. It's security. It's sleeping well at night. Morgan Housel, the author of The Psychology of Money, said, "The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today." That might mean more to you than any dollar amount ever could. And that's the perspective shift most people need. If you want to get rich, yes, learn about money, but also learn about yourself, your habits, your fears, your triggers. Because money management is self-management. Psychology isn't part of the money game. It is the game. Wealth is not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. It's not about making one perfect financial move. It's about making hundreds of good enough decisions over decades. And to do that, you need emotional discipline, patience, and perspective. Most people don't fail financially because they're stupid. They fail because they never learn to master themselves. They panic when others panic. They follow the crowd. They react instead of reflect. If you want to be wealthy, don't follow the herd. Study the psychology of the people who built wealth quietly, steadily, and intentionally. Success leaves clues, not in what people say, but in what they consistently do. They don't just act rich, they think rich. And thinking rich often means thinking differently. So the real work? It's not just saving more or earning more. It's rewiring your brain, teaching yourself to be okay with boredom. Because most wealth building is boring. It's repetitive, it's slow, but it's also incredibly effective. The path to wealth is paved with ordinary days, not extraordinary moments. And here's the final truth. Money is a mirror. It reflects who you are, your fears, your values, your priorities. If you want to change your financial future, start by changing what you believe about money. Start by asking yourself better questions. What does enough look like for me? What am I really trying to buy? Status, freedom, security, or peace? What's the cost of trying to impress people I don't even like? Because the moment you stop chasing someone else's version of wealth is the moment you start building your own. Slowly, quietly, sustainably. And once you do that, you'll realize that the journey to financial freedom isn't just about what you're building. It's about who you're becoming. Let's dive even deeper into one of the most overlooked aspects of financial psychology: your identity. People don't just act on logic, they act on identity. If you believe you're bad with money, you'll subconsciously act in ways that reinforce that belief. You'll avoid learning about finances. You'll sabotage your savings. You'll ignore your bank statements, not because you're lazy, but because your brain wants to stay consistent with how you see yourself. This is called identity-based behavior, and it's powerful. The fastest way to change your financial life isn't to change your goals, it's to change your identity. Stop telling yourself, "I'm not good with money," and start saying, "I'm the kind of person who is learning to master money." Think about people who succeed with fitness. They don't say, "I want to lose weight." They say, "I'm a healthy person. I don't miss workouts." The same applies to wealth. You need to shift from chasing results to becoming the kind of person who consistently does the right things financially. That might mean tracking your spending, saving first, saying no to status purchases, or simply educating yourself daily. Now let's talk about narratives. Everyone has a money story. Maybe your parents argued about money. Maybe you grew up with too little or too much. Those stories shape your beliefs. They create mental scripts like "money is hard to earn," or "rich people are greedy," or "I'll never be good at this." If you don't question those stories, they'll control your actions for the rest of your life. Start rewriting those scripts. Replace fear with curiosity. Replace guilt with strategy. You're not stuck. You're conditioned, and conditioning can be reprogrammed. Another layer we need to understand is risk tolerance. Some people can invest in volatile assets and sleep like a baby. Others lose sleep over a $100 dip. Your psychology determines how much risk you can handle, not just your bank balance. And managing your psychology is key, because the market will always test you. There will always be crashes, corrections, and noise. But the investors who stay calm, who stick to the plan, who zoom out instead of freaking out, those are the ones who win. Here's something else to remember. Financial freedom isn't just about quitting your job. It's about having options. If you love your work, that's freedom. If you can walk away from toxic environments, that's freedom. If you can take 6 months off to travel or care for family, that's freedom. Don't get caught up in the fantasy that you need millions to be free. You need clarity, control, and confidence. The ultimate test of wealth is what you do when you have more than enough. Giving isn't just good for others, it's good for you. Studies show that generosity increases happiness, reduces stress, and creates meaning. The happiest people aren't the richest. They're the ones who contribute beyond themselves. Money is a magnifier. It doesn't change who you are, it reveals it. If you're insecure, more money will make you more insecure. If you're generous, more money will amplify your impact. That's why working on yourself is just as important as working on your portfolio. And finally, remember, the greatest return on investment is not in the stock market. It's in your mindset, your habits, your ability to delay gratification, to ignore the noise, to stay focused on your long game when everyone else is chasing shortcuts. So build the habits, build the mindset, build the identity, because when you do that, wealth becomes inevitable. Not because you got lucky, but because you became the kind of person who always ends up wealthy. So let's recap. Getting rich isn't just about math. It's about behavior. It's about mastering patience, managing emotions, and avoiding the traps of envy and comparison. It's about defining wealth on your own terms, not society's. If you understand your mind, you can control your money. But if you don't, your money will always control you. But let me leave you with something more personal. Every financial decision you make is a vote for the kind of future you want. Every time you invest, you're saying, "I believe in tomorrow." Every time you save, you're saying, "I trust myself to handle opportunity." Every time you choose to learn, instead of spending mindlessly, you're building a stronger, smarter, freer version of yourself. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. You will mess up. You will overspend. You will feel fear. But the goal isn't perfection. It's awareness. It's catching yourself in the moment and choosing better. Not perfect, better. Because the truth is, the rich mindset doesn't come from how much you earn. It comes from how you think, how you act, how you stay grounded when the world is chasing illusions. Real wealth is quiet, it's calm, it's patient, and it doesn't need validation. Thank you for watching. Give a comment if you learned something and let me know what you would like to see next. On that note, as we say, I'm rooting for you.